She faked terminal cancer just to steal my room and nearly destroyed my future. 2 years later, she's standing on my porch crying, asking if we can ever be sisters again. But after everything she did, could you forgive her? I used to think that if I just loved her enough, maybe she'd love me back. Sasha was my older sister, 4 years ahead and light years cooler. She was everything I wanted to be, effortlessly athletic, always the center of attention, and somehow able to make even our uniform school sweaters look iconic. I copied everything she did. When she took up ballet, I twisted my little feet into first position. When she dyed a streak of her hair purple, I begged our mom to let me try the same. She was my role model, my mirror. But to her, I was more like a shadow she couldn't shake. I didn't realize it at first. I thought we were close. Even when she'd laugh at my clumsy pirouettes or call me Mini-Me with an eye roll, I thought teasing was love. I thought being the first person she showed her trophies to meant something. But over time, her eyes stopped sparkling when she saw me. Instead, they narrowed, like I was competition in a race she never signed up for, but refused to lose. The truth came in pieces. The first piece shattered on my 12th birthday. Our parents got me a pink bike, the one with glittery tassels and a bell that chirped like joy itself. I squealed, sprinted to Sasha's room to show her. I thought she'd be happy for me, maybe even proud. She looked at the bike, then back at me with a strange smile. "Let me be the first to ride it," she said. I nodded, heart bursting. I thought this was the moment, and the start of a real sisterhood. She wheeled it down the driveway onto the road, and as a truck roared by, she shoved the bike forward. It shattered under the tires like my last bit of hope. That was the day I stopped telling her about my dreams. I kept my wins quiet after that, stuffed them into drawers and whispered them into pillows. She'd turned something pure into something dangerous, and no matter how many times my parents told me to be patient or give her space, I knew better. Sasha didn't want a sister. She wanted an audience, so I became a secret version of myself. I ran track, aced my classes, and started writing essays under the covers at night. I never told anyone when I won. I stopped posting on social media. My parents thought I was shy. I was just scared. But secrets don't stay hidden forever, especially the good ones. At 17, I got into an Ivy League school. The letter came on a rainy Tuesday, tucked between a water bill and a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon. My mom found it first. Her scream rattled the kitchen windows. My dad hugged me so hard my ribs ached. For the first time in years, I let myself smile without fear. Sasha, I thought, was out of the house, out of my life. What could she possibly do now, the next morning? I woke to my belongings stuffed into trash bags. My parents stood in my doorway, pale-faced and shaking. My mom whispered it like a prayer. "Your sister, she has cancer. Stage 3 ovarian." I knew instantly she was lying. I could see it in the way she walked through the door that afternoon, bald like a chemo patient but glowing with victory. She looked right at me, eyes dancing, and collapsed dramatically onto the couch. "Cancer's exhausting," she said, closing her eyes as if she'd just run a marathon. I said nothing. That night, I cooked her favorite meal. The next 2 weeks, I slept on the couch while she hosted sympathy parties for herself in the dining room. But I wasn't 12 anymore. I wasn't the girl who would hand over her bike. I was the girl who was about to expose the biggest lie of her sister's life, in front of everyone. The night of the party was humid, the kind of heat that makes your skin stick to your clothes and your thoughts feel heavy. Sasha wore a silk head wrap and a soft expression that made her look fragile, saint-like, untouchable. Our living room was packed with people, relatives, neighbors, old teachers, classmates I hadn't spoken to since freshman year. Everyone came to marvel at her strength. It made me sick. She stood near the fireplace, holding a glass of lemonade like it was a prop in some performance. She laughed at the right moments, placed trembling fingers to her forehead as if fatigue were poetry. At one point, she leaned against our mom and whispered something that made them both tear up. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. I tapped a fork gently against my glass. The room quieted. She turned to me with wide eyes, feigning surprise. "Sasha," I said, my voice warm, almost reverent. "Make a speech. Everyone here is so proud of you." She hesitated for this briefest second, then smiled like she'd been rehearsing for this her entire life. She launched into it, the same speech I'd heard her practicing in front of her bathroom mirror, word for word. She spoke of pain, of courage, of fighting like a girl. Her eyes glistened with artificial tears, and the crowd leaned in closer, breathing her in like she was sacred. And that's when I stepped forward. I hugged her tightly, one hand steady on her back, the other drifting up, just beneath the edge of her scalp, ready to reveal everything. When I pulled away, I peeled the bald cap from her head. Gasps erupted like fireworks. Her blonde hair tumbled down past her shoulders in shiny, untouched waves. She screamed. My mom's hand flew to her chest as if someone had shot her. My dad stood frozen, mouth slightly open. Before anyone could move, I turned on the TV behind us. There, on the screen, played a video I'd filmed through the cracked bathroom door. Sasha, in full makeup, reciting the same exact speech, alone, laughing when she messed up, practicing fake sobs in front of the mirror like a deranged actress. The room fell silent except for her ragged breathing. She ran, out the door, down the street. Her car screeched out of the driveway like a desperate animal fleeing a trap. I didn't chase her. I just walked upstairs, slowly, like a prisoner climbing the gallows. I left my parents to explain the wreckage to our guests, let them taste the consequences of their blind faith. The next morning, my mother slapped me. It wasn't rage. It was betrayal. Her hand trembled before it landed, and my face burned not from pain, but from the fact that after everything, she still didn't believe me. How could you humiliate her like that, she cried, voice cracking. Your sister is fighting for her life. She's fighting for attention, I said quietly. And she's winning. Sasha had already twisted the story. Claimed I ripped out hair extensions she'd paid thousands for. Said she wore them to hide her baldness without inviting pity. She said I was jealous, that I wanted the spotlight back. And they believed her. They always did. The days that followed blurred. She returned with forged documents, test results, chemotherapy schedules, appointment cards from places that either didn't exist or wouldn't verify a thing. She filled the house with sympathy and pity and framed me as a narcissist, emotionally abusive and starved for attention. My parents set up therapy sessions, not for the one faking cancer, but for me, the daughter they thought was the problem. I sat in a leather chair twice a week while a therapist, well-meaning but deceived, asked me why I needed to destroy my sister, why I resented her illness, why I couldn't be happy for her journey. I tried to tell the truth. I really did, but the more I explained, the more I sounded unhinged. Meanwhile, Sasha played the perfect patient. She hosted intimate tea parties for family, where she'd slip in phrases like, "It's been hard with my sister not being supportive," or "She's taking it badly." I don't blame her. She's just scared. Never directly accusatory. Just enough to stain my name in polite company. I watched my reputation rot. At school, kids whispered. Teachers offered sympathy, then watched me suspiciously. My grades started slipping. Not because I couldn't do the work, but because I couldn't focus. I had one eye on the hallway, waiting for the next rumor to land like a slap. Then one day I came home, opened my laptop, and found it shattered. The screen was cracked like a windshield after a crash. My keyboard bent inwards, as though someone had stomped on it. Everything I'd built for college, gone in an instant. Years of work, erased like they never mattered. Sasha was in the kitchen, sipping tea with honey and lemon. She looked up at me with a smile so soft it felt like a razor. Technology, she said, can be so unreliable. That's when I knew she wasn't done with me. Not even close. By then, I'd stopped hoping anyone would rescue me. I used to imagine that if I just told the truth loud enough, someone, anyone, would hear it. That my parents would finally connect the dots, that the therapist would see through Sasha's well-rehearsed sorrow, that someone would step in and say, "Enough," but no one ever did, because Sasha never gave them silence, only drama dressed in sympathy. And that kind of noise is hard to argue with. So I stopped speaking, and I started documenting. Every lie she told became a line in a notebook I kept hidden behind a loose floorboard in the hallway. Every contradiction, every slip of the tongue. Every Tuesday she claimed to be in chemo but posted selfies at the mall. I wrote it all down, screenshot it, dated it, filed it. Like building a case against a ghost no one else believed was haunting the house. Still, it wasn't enough. I needed more than digital smoke and typed out memories. I needed a voice, so I gave Sasha one. I bought miniature voice recorders, cheap, discreet, silent things that could disappear into corners without anyone noticing. I slid one behind the vase in the dining room, another beneath the couch cushions where she took her pity naps. One was hidden deep in the hallway cabinet, tucked quietly beside the unused candles. And then I waited, listening for the truth to speak when no one was watching. And what I caught, it changed everything. At night, while the house creaked and sighed, her voice would float through the thin air like poison on silk. She'd call her friends and laugh, actually laugh, about how easy it was, how our parents were eating out of her hand, how she'd stolen my room, how my stupid Ivy dreams were crumbling just the way she'd planned. I sat there with headphones pressed tight, hands trembling, listening to her mimic our mother's voice in a parody of concern that made my stomach turn. She bragged about the way I looked like a kicked puppy the day my laptop died. She mocked my therapy sessions, calling me a narcissist in the same breath she admitted she'd invented every medical document from Pinterest articles and Canva templates. It was all there. And this time, I didn't just store it. I backed it up everywhere. Multiple cloud drives, passwords, Sasha would never guess, physical USBs taped under old furniture, locked drawers, even inside a hollowed-out copy of Jane Eyre I knew she'd never touch. But evidence means nothing if no one sees it. My parents were too far gone, too wrapped in guilt and helpless hope to even consider that their perfect sick daughter might be lying through her gleaming teeth. They flinched any time I brought up inconsistencies, like I was poking holes in a lifeboat we were all sinking in. That's when I remembered Aunt Helen, sharp-tongued and skeptical. Helen had never fully bought into Sasha's stories, not even when we were kids. I remembered her calling out Sasha for lying about winning a spelling bee at a school that didn't hold competitions. She had that kind of memory that could catch a crack in the wall no one else saw. She lived 2 hours away, but maybe, just maybe, she'd still be willing to listen. I called her from a rusted payphone behind my school gym, the kind that smells like gum and forgotten pocket change. I didn't want Sasha tracking my calls or guessing what I was up to. I fed coins into the slot with shaking hands, heart pounding like it knew this was the last rope I had left to pull. She picked up on the third ring, and when I heard her voice, warm, steady, calm, like an anchor, I almost broke. The words spilled out of me in a panic, years of silence pouring into the receiver. I told her everything about the forged cancer, the laptop, the rumors, the recordings. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. When I finished, she was quiet for a few long seconds. Then she said one word: Saturday. She'd be at the house by noon. She said she wouldn't let Sasha see it coming, that she'd play the doting aunt if she had to, but she wanted to see the proof with her own eyes. Her voice wasn't angry. It was focused, the way people sound when they're loading a weapon they swore they'd never use. Hope is a dangerous thing when you haven't felt it in a while. It made my chest feel tight, like I couldn't breathe properly. But it was something, and for the first time in months, I walked through the school halls with a straight back and steel in my eyes. Then Friday came. I opened the secret drawer under my desk and found it empty. The outline of dust where the recorder had sat looked like a chalk outline at a crime scene. I ripped through my room, closet, shoes, bookshelf, under the bed, nothing. Every single recorder, every USB, every shred of evidence. Gone. When I stepped into the living room, Sasha was lounging on the couch with her legs tucked beneath her, flipping through a celebrity gossip magazine. She didn't even look up. I asked where they were. She turned a page slowly, smiled, and said she didn't know what I was talking about. Her voice was syrup. Her eyes were ice. And in that moment, I realized she knew everything. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, watching its slow circles cut through the shadows like a metronome of dread. Every creak in the hallway made my chest tighten. Every whisper of wind against the window felt like a warning. She had found the recordings. She had taken them. And somehow, she knew everything I'd done. Every hiding spot. Every plan. Every fragile thread of truth I had clung to. But what she didn't know, what she could never touch, was that I had one more lifeline: the cloud backups. Still, knowing I had the files didn't stop the fear. It was the principle of it. She had entered my room. She had violated my sanctuary. Not just my evidence. She'd touched the one place I still called mine. She had gone through drawers, boxes, memories. She had reached into my life and tried to erase me. Again. The next day, I changed every password. Not just changed, fortified them. I built layers of protection around my data like I was wrapping barbed wire around my truth. 2-factor authentication. Decoy accounts. Dummy folders filled with fake files in case she tried again. That same night, Aunt Helen arrived, arms full of casserole, face full of concern. She hugged Sasha like nothing was wrong, told her she looked radiant, even complimented her fake headscarf. Sasha drank in the attention, fluttered her lashes, and offered to warm up tea. Helen played along. She smiled, listened, nodded. But when Sasha turned her back, Helen gave me a look I hadn't seen since childhood, sharp, silent, and surgical. When the tea was served, Helen waited until everyone was distracted, and then asked if she could see the room I'd given up so generously. We climbed the stairs in silence. Once inside, I locked the door. I showed her everything. My phone, the synced cloud folders, the recordings, the screenshots, all the evidence she thought she'd erased. Helen's expression darkened with every clip, every soundbite of Sasha's laughter describing how gullible our parents were. She didn't say a word for a long time. Then she sat down on the edge of the bed and whispered, "She's sick, but she's also dangerous." She didn't mean it as an excuse. She meant it as a warning. Helen had worked in law, handling malpractice cases where fake documents and forged medical histories weren't new. She spotted the flaws in Sasha's papers instantly. The inconsistent fonts, the identical watermarks on letters from supposedly different clinics. She even noticed the terminology was mismatched, like someone had skimmed WebMD articles and strung together impressive-sounding words without understanding them. She was the first adult who truly believed me, and she had a plan. "We don't confront her yet," Helen said, folding her arms. "Your parents are too emotionally wrapped around her. If we come in swinging, they'll just dig in deeper. We wait. We choose the right moment. And that moment is dinner, when everyone's pretending we're still a family." That evening, our family sat down around the oak table like strangers forced into a Thanksgiving photo. Sasha played her role to perfection. Tiny bites of food, soft sighs about her treatment, a distant look in her eyes as though she were carrying the weight of the world. My mother hovered over her, offering different meals, folding napkins, anything to distract herself from how thin the foundation beneath her love had become. My father said little, his eyes sunken with weeks of confusion and helpless loyalty. And then Helen leaned forward, casual as ever. "So, Sasha, what hospital are you working with again? I have a friend who might be able to help. She's an oncologist in Boston." Sasha blinked. Just once. It was so quick I almost missed it. "Oh, it's complicated," she said, fiddling with her fork. "I've been moving around for privacy. You know how it is." Helen smiled, nodded thoughtfully. "Of course, that's understandable. But what's your doctor's name? I'd love to send them a thank you card. You've clearly been receiving excellent care." Sasha's hand trembled. Barely. Then she stood up, pushing her chair back a little too hard, the legs scraping the wood floor like nails on bone. "I'm not feeling well," she said. "I need a moment." She disappeared down the hall. Her door slammed, and the silence she left behind was louder than anything she'd ever said. Helen didn't waste time. She turned to my parents and, in that low, steady voice she saved for courtrooms, said, "How many appointments have you actually gone to with her?" My mother flinched. She said she didn't want us there. She wanted independence. "And you never saw any paperwork firsthand. No doctors, no facilities." My father looked down at his plate. "She was trying to protect us from the worst of it." Helen pulled out her phone. "Let me show you something." She played one of the recordings. Sasha's voice filled the room, laughing, mocking, planning. My mother covered her mouth. My father stared at the screen like it was a weapon aimed at his heart. They couldn't look away. When Sasha returned to the dining room, the silence wasn't passive anymore. It was thick, electric, like the air before lightning splits a tree in half. We were all staring at her, but it wasn't the kind of stare she was used to. Not awe, not sympathy, not even envy. It was the first time she'd been truly seen. And she knew it. She froze, standing just behind her chair, as if weighing whether to sit or flee. Her eyes darted from my father's clenched fists to my mother's trembling hands to Aunt Helen's phone still resting on the table, screen black now, but damning all the same. And then, right on cue, she began to cry. But this time, the tears weren't working. "You're all ganging up on me," she whispered hoarsely, her voice cracking just enough to sound rehearsed. "I'm sick. And none of you even care." No one moved. She tried again, louder, pushing the same button that always worked. "She's faking this. She doctored those recordings." "You think I'd say those things about my own family? You think I'm that cruel?" Still, no one moved. And then, the dam broke. Her voice rose, cracked open, and out came everything she'd been hiding behind fake scans and shaved wigs and trembling hands. "You want the truth," she screamed, eyes wild, mascara streaking down her cheeks like war paint. "Fine. You want honesty? I never had cancer. Are you happy now?" She pounded the table with both hands so hard my mother jumped and dropped her fork. The silver clatter echoed like thunder in the silence that followed. All I ever heard growing up was how great she was, how smart she was, how lucky we were to have her. And me, I was the moody one, the dramatic one. The disappointment. She spat the last word like it was rotten. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. She was unraveling on her own. "You think it's easy being the forgotten child," she continued, chest heaving, voice trembling on the edge of something dangerous. "Do you have any idea what it's like to watch your little sister win everything? While you fade into the background like you were never even born." No one spoke, so she kept going. Louder now, more unhinged. As though if she just shouted hard enough, she could bend reality back to where she was the victim again. "I destroyed the bike because I was sick of her smiling like she was better than me. I deleted her college files because I wanted one thing, just one thing, to go my way. And I'd do it again, because none of you ever saw me until I was dying. Except I wasn't. And that's the worst part. Because even my lie was better than the truth of being invisible." She stopped, breathing like a cornered animal. And then she lunged. It wasn't graceful or cinematic. It was raw and sudden and human in a way that terrified me more than anything she'd ever done before. Her fingers clawed through the air between us, catching my mother's arm as she tried to step between us. A thin red line appeared on Mom's wrist, and we all froze as a single drop of blood welled up and fell onto the tablecloth. Blooming slowly like a rose pressed into snow, my mother looked at it like she couldn't quite understand what had just happened. My father stood, not in anger, but in sorrow, like a man finally acknowledging that his daughter wasn't sick in the way he'd hoped, not something treatable, not something temporary. "Do you have cancer, Sasha?" he asked, softly. The voice of a man who had changed her diapers, taught her to ride a bike, kissed her forehead after nightmares, and now no longer knew who she was. She didn't answer. He asked again. The same question. Same tone. No anger, just something quiet and final. This time, she didn't cry. She didn't shout. She broke. Her body crumpled like the lie had finally caved in on itself, like the weight of what she'd done, the rooms she'd stolen, the love she'd manipulated, the years she'd burned, had all finally become too much to carry. "Yes," she whispered, then caught herself. "No, I mean, I wanted to. I needed to. You loved her more. I had to do something." My mother was sobbing now, full-bodied, heart-racking sobs that shook the entire table. My father collapsed back into his seat, eyes glazed, as if his entire world had just turned upside down and he was still trying to find the ground again. And Aunt Helen, steady, relentless. Helen quietly reached into her pocket and turned on the recorder. "Just in case she forgets she said all this," she murmured. "I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just watched as everything I'd known finally came into the light. When the ambulance arrived, it wasn't for the injury, it was for the unraveling. The paramedics patched my mother's arm with quiet hands, but their attention shifted quickly to Sasha, now curled on the floor, rocking back and forth in a puddle of her own hysteria. Her voice was hoarse from screaming, her hair a wild mess that had once been so carefully styled for sympathy. She kept repeating that it wasn't supposed to happen like this, that we were supposed to understand, that I had ruined everything. No one stopped them when they took her away. Not this time. The house felt hollow after she was gone, like it had exhaled after holding its breath for too long. My parents and I sat in the living room without speaking, the walls still vibrating with what had just unfolded. My mom kept rubbing the bandage on her wrist, not from pain, but like she was trying to erase the memory that came with it. My dad looked older than I had ever seen him, not from age, but from disappointment heavy enough to weigh down his spine. And as for me, there was no sense of triumph, no rush of justice, only a strange, quiet stillness, like standing in the wreckage after the storm has passed. Later that night, they apologized, not just for the slap, or the therapy sessions, or the years of silence, but for everything, for not seeing me, for not protecting me, for trusting a fantasy over their own child. My mom cried while touching the cheek she'd once struck. Her palm open this time, not in anger, but in sorrow. They asked me about all the things Sasha had done, and I told them, the bike, the laptop, the rumors, the files, not to make her look worse. She didn't need help with that, but so they could finally understand the timeline of damage they'd been blind to. Every revelation hit them like a bruise they couldn't cover. In the days that followed, everything changed. My dad contacted a residential treatment center that specialized in personality disorders. The program was long-term, intensive, and structured, the kind that didn't promise miracles, just hard work and slow progress. If Sasha agreed to it, there'd be rules, consequences, and therapy that couldn't be manipulated with tears. She agreed to go, not because she wanted healing, not yet, but because she had nothing left to lose. My parents focused on rebuilding what they'd broken with me. Quiet breakfasts, evening walks, small questions about my day that didn't come wrapped in guilt. I moved back into my room. My things slowly found their place again. The door stayed locked, not out of fear, but for peace. The sound of the deadbolt each night felt like a heartbeat returning to rhythm. Then, one day, the college email arrived, the final verdict. They had reviewed the evidence, the voice recordings, the confession, a signed letter from Aunt Helen, even a statement from the therapist who had unknowingly been part of the damage. The admissions committee wrote back that my offer still stood, and they were sorry for the delay. I stared at the screen for a long time, and for the first time in years, I let myself believe the worst was over. Summer passed in quiet rhythms, no chaos, no slamming doors, no whispered lies crawling under the floorboards. The house no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like something simpler, not perfect, not repaired, but livable. My parents walked softer, talked slower, listened better. We laughed again, not often, not loudly, but it was real. Sasha stayed at the facility. Her therapist said recovery would be long, uneven, and filled with setbacks. She was diagnosed with narcissistic traits and emotional dysregulation, nothing that surprised me. But they said she showed moments of clarity, of accountability, and that meant something, even if I couldn't feel it yet. Then came the letter, not from the school or the therapist, but from her. It was handwritten, shaky in places, but not angry. No manipulation, no guilt-tripping, just a list of everything she'd done, every lie, every sabotage, every time she'd tried to destroy me just to feel alive. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just wanted me to know she remembered, and that she wasn't hiding from it anymore. At the bottom, in small, careful letters, she wrote, "I can't undo what I broke, but I'm trying not to be the person who enjoyed breaking it." I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer I didn't open often. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know if I wanted to, but I didn't throw it away. When college move-in day came, my parents packed the car with nervous hands and too many snacks. My dad double-checked the tires like it was a ritual. My mom fussed with my pillow until I gently took it from her and laughed. Aunt Helen sent a care package with a note that simply read, "You survived. Now go live." I hugged them goodbye. And when I stepped into my dorm, unpacked my books, met my roommate, and sat on the bed in a room that was finally, truly mine, I didn't feel haunted anymore. I felt free. Weeks later, I got a small box in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Inside was a necklace, a simple silver chain with my birthstone. Tucked beneath it, a tiny folded card for your new beginning. I didn't wear it, but I didn't throw it away either. I placed it gently in my desk drawer, beside the letter. A symbol, maybe. Not of forgiveness, not yet, but of possibility. Because healing isn't loud. It isn't cinematic. It doesn't arrive with closure music playing behind a dramatic reunion. Healing is quiet. It's locking your door without fear. It's seeing your name on a college paper and knowing you earned it. It's hearing your sister's voice in a voicemail and not flinching. It's smiling, softly, without pretending. I don't know if Sasha and I will ever be real sisters again. But I know I'm no longer her shadow, and that might be enough.